Hi, this is Bryce Yoakum from Plantwide Integration, coming to you from my hotel room at ProveIt. Today I'm going to show you my ProveIt demo that I put together. What I want you to get out of this is this a good build versus buy situation? So is it better to build something that you can maintain and you can change, or is it better to buy something like a big SCADA system from Aviva or Rockwell or Ignition or Tatsoft or something like that? So everything that I'm about to show you is built in Claude. I'm going to share my screen. I thought I already was. Alright, so this is the app. The first thing I want to show is the board. So this is a Geofence. So basically this is open source. Anyone can use it, so it's free. And if you can imagine what this could be used for, it could be used for tracking where your vehicles are. So you could push position data back up into the MQTT broker and then record that onto here with a pin. You can change these pins out for anything. You could have like a little truck running around or a dot or whatever in different colors, or kind of whatever you want there. You could also, maybe you have a whole bunch of oil rigs or something across North Dakota over here. You could just have dots for where every one of those are. So what I'm using it for is just to track people at the show. So let's do this too, and we will do New York and New York just to get it into a different place. So you can see it added over there, and I'll show you what it's like adding one closer. I'll say Perm, where I used to live. So now you can see it put a 2 up there, and as you zoom in, it splits to the other one once you get in far enough. Otherwise, if they're directly on top of each other, you click it and they'll split off to the sides. So here I highlighted my company, and I highlighted where ProveIt is, and the new ones that I added are down in this little drop down box. And I am still logged into admin, which is why it shows the delete button. Alright, so here's the message board. So you can kind of imagine what you'd use the message board for. Let's say we had a work order management system or something like that. We could have messages on the work order. So let's say we had a maintenance work order, and that maintenance work order was gearbox failed on conveyor to line 3. And you could take this input and actually run it through AI and normalize it. So you could take that and say, okay, this is line 3, conveyor 2, and this person works at Enterprise B, site 2. So it could kind of figure out where that should get logged. Here you can also tag things, so you could have things like site 1, site 2, site 3 down here or something like that. And we could just tag and post, and then it'll just post it down here. So you can imagine that could be at the bottom of a work order. And then somebody might see that and say, why did it fail? And reply. And then you could have a back and forth going on. Then under photos, you could kind of imagine what this would be. You could add a photo of that bad gearbox. So you could take this guy, go photo, upload photo, boom. Now we have a photo on the bottom of our work order. Links, so we can add links to things. So maybe we have a link to a SOP or something on that work order. So how to change out the gearbox. So you just have different links, and you click on those links to go to different places. Here's an RSS feed. This is just everything off of LinkedIn for the ProveIt session. It's basically showing up on here. Definitely watch this video here. The gallery are all the generated dashboards. So one thing that this app does is it automatically generates dashboards based off of prompts and pictures. So you can see this one was generated. It's got the OEE stuff that everybody else has. Also added in some historian stuff down here. So you guys see what that looks like. And this is a live dashboard. So these numbers should change and stuff as the broker changes. One thing that I added on here is this path, so you can actually see what tags it's reading, and you could even change them if it screwed up and put the wrong tag in there or something like that. And then you can also go to the broker here, so you can go over to the Explorer and actually see that tag in the Explorer. So in generate, lift those in, you can either add a photo, which adding a photo, it will try and recreate whatever you had there. So you could draw it on a piece of paper and put it in there, or you could take a picture of somebody else's dashboard, put it in there, and it'll try and create it as best it can. It struggles with that a little bit. Then also, I forgot to show this. So if you open this, there's this modify button, and then you can have a back and forth with it. So you can take the one that we already made, push it back into Claude, and tell it to change something. So move the trend to the top of the screen, something like that. Down here, in order to make the payloads a little smaller, I took out all of the vendor data. So if you wanted to add in vendor data on one of these dashboards, you could do that and say add in Viva conveyor information. Oops, that's what I hit. Information. And then you hit create dashboard. It takes about a minute to 2 minutes to do, so I'm not going to do it on here. I also have some pre-built prompts here that you can click on. That'll build it. So this prompt is actually what built the one that we were just looking at. Alright, so in chat, same thing. You got a chat window here, just like everyone else. Same deal down here. You click on Aviva if you want to query the MQTT for Aviva or Highlight or whatever. Down here is just a sample of what a chat would look like. And here is also some sample data. So you could click this guy. So what product did Enterprise B produce last week? So it's going to go through. It does take a while, so the more tool calls it does, the longer it takes. So that time it did 3 tool calls, and it costs about 2 pennies, so 2 cents, 2 pennies. So you can see that's way too many bottles, so it's screwed up there. So if we click this guy here, we can see the query that it ran and how it got that number. So basically, it looks like it didn't put in a date range. It just pulled everything. Yeah, it just pulled the total. So kind of how you would, you can't see what I'm looking at. So basically it populates out this query in here, and you can see here that it is 96 million here, and that's how it got it. So basically it didn't do just the last week, it did over the entire time the data's been available, which isn't really what we want. So how you'd normally do that is you'd say, did it clear that out? When I paste, there we go. So now you'd come back in here and say, that is lifetime models I wanted just last week. So, I mean, AI is not perfect. It's going to make mistakes, and the better we make our prompts, the more likely it is that we'll get good responses. So you can kind of fine-tune the prompts. I'm not going to wait for that, it just takes too long. So next you have the Explorer, so you can use this if you're walking around the show or whatever to be able to see the MQTT layout. So you can come in here and kind of see everything. In here you can click, wait for it to load, click add to selection, and it adds it up here. I double click that, that's why it jumped over to the screen, but now it'll use this in the prompt when it sends this. So when you're creating your dashboard, it kind of builds it out with that data. Then in here you have all the documentation. So some of the documentation is pictures. So we used Tesseract to do an OCR on those and pull all the text out and create text documents for them. So you can actually, the AI can search and I can search as well in here, the content. So if I type in batch, hit enter, I'll get all the batch. So you can see how this could be useful if you're doing like a batch number or something like that, or you're looking for an SOP. You could do this really with any type of document. Then you have the database. I kind of showed this a little bit, but I'll just kind of show how you could use this to just look at what's in the database right now. So if you're walking around the show and you kind of want to understand what the heck everything is in the historian and in the tables that they're looking at, you can come over to my booth, and I'm in the 4.0 solutions booth with the IGP program, and I will have a QR code sitting on the table over there. Even if I'm not there, you can scan the QR code and gain access to all of this. So you can keep using this as you walk around to kind of understand the data from all the booths that you're looking at and from the presentations that are happening. You can change these queries if you want, and you can put your own in there or use Claude to write one for you. So there's something wrong with that. It should scroll down, but whatever. Glossary. So the glossary, there it is. Yeah, maybe that's why it wasn't scrolling. There's something going on with my internet connection. So the glossary is just a collection of terms. So there's a lot of people walking around the show that just don't know all of the terminology. There's tons and tons. There's stuff related to the different processes here. So this just helps for education. You know, what is a process value? What is a set point? MySQL, OCR. So if you didn't know what OCR was when I said it, there's a description here. OEE, what is OEE, MES, all of the terminology. So this just helps with education. Again, stop by the booth, scan the code, you can look at this. Enterprise layout. So here you can kind of see how product flows through each one, and now this is AI generated, so it might not be perfect, but it's going to be pretty close. Plant 2. Alright, and network drawing. So if we go Enterprise B, this is just how all the data relates to each other. So some of the data is in databases, some of it's MQTT, and some of it's in documents. So you're supposed to be able to click on that there. So you can see how things kind of link together that way. And then all of these need to have a CESME thing. So my CESME thing is I am going to just show everybody else's. So you can see there's 15 different CESME profiles in here. We'll look at Aviva because they use theirs during their demo. And you can see the conveyor that he was talking about during the demo and all the information that was in there. So if you were on this site on your phone or whatever during that demo, you could have pulled this up and looked at the information that was actually up on the screen. And then there's some useful links here for different CESME stuff as well. So about CESME Profiles, can't actually go to that. So the issue there is I'm not sharing that other screen, so you can't see it in the recording. And then lastly, how long did this take for me to build? It took me 2 days. So it was about 20 hours, honestly. So 2.5 days, I guess. And then how much did it cost? It really just cost me a Claude license. I have the $100 one already. If you were going to do this at an enterprise, you'd probably want the enterprise level license for Claude. And the reason for that is just for data protection, so that they don't use your data to train the model. There is a checkbox on the one that I have that I do have unchecked, but I'm not sure what the terms of service are on that. Then my next video is going to be how I built this. So my goal would be to just kind of show you guys how to use Claude to build an application like this. And how, I mean, probably it'll take you longer than 2 days to do something this large. But a lot of the time that I spent too on this was actually refining the prompts for the chat and for the generate to actually get useful information out. So if you get a chance, stop by the booth. Make sure you scan the code, you get this on your phone so you can use it as you're walking around. Thank you. I appreciate you making it to the end of the video. Yeah, stop by and say hi. Thank you.